would show up because, Save Expo is pretty sweet. And hey, all right, so we got somebody on here. Twins minus the beard, yeah.
That sounds good.
Let's see if sound is good. So let me, I'm gonna pull up our StreamYard over here to the side. Not sure how many people have joined in, but let's see. So I can look at the live stream update. It's not showing me stream settings, analytics, stream health. Excellent. All right, well, looks like somebody's watching. YouTube's just not playing nice, so not sure how many people we actually have on here. But yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm John. We're here with Steve from Adventure OffroadX. And hopefully you guys enjoy tonight. We actually put together some media to show you guys a little bit about our story and how we met, talk a little bit about Save Expo, and if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to throw those in the chat. Steve and I will try to answer those. A little background is like we both had 2 Gladiators each, and we'll get more into that. But let's start off with your video. You want to throw that up there?
Yeah, this is just a short video of the Save Expo, just kind of give you a glimpse of, the vendor alley. Then also I threw in the obstacle course because they have an obstacle course that's in the middle, which is really cool. A lot of people like that. And then they have also, I didn't get a video of that in there with the, they have the woods as well. That's like a little trail area. That one's really cool.
They brought out some big people last year. I know Anchor released their power station. So Rob from Revere Overland was there. Cody Wample, what's his name? Was Wilson the Jeep out there? He was there for a little bit. Some of the West Coast guys were. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, that obstacle course is pretty neat. And I was looking on Instagram, and Rome 4 Low, Matt, he's got a really cool Frontier that he's built. They're actually out at King of the Hammers right now, helping out there. I don't know if they've actually got a team running. I think they may have one vehicle that's running the trail. But other than that, it's just cool. I mean, that's another bucket list place to go is, JK Gear and Gadgets. He actually built his JK, and he's out there roaming. But yeah, I love Save Expo, and that's funny because this kind of leads to how we met. So funny enough, 3 years ago, I was down there, my first trip to an Overland event, like an official event. I'd done some parking lot stuff, but the Save Expo was super cool because, I got to meet all kinds of people. I think I saw your Gladiator at the end and was like, hey, Steve, you got a really cool Gladiator. Let's do a walk around. And so we did a walk and talk around yours, and then we did one around mine for your channel. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the Warhawk up there. I don't know. Did you get it? Yeah, you got some video of the Warhawk. So let's throw that up there and let you talk a little bit about the Warhawk.
Yeah, so the Warhawk, the old Warhawk, I put 80,000 miles and kind of went around the country. This is out in Moab and Colorado and Utah area. This is coming up top of the world. Man, if you've never been there, wow. The view is amazing. It really feels like you're on top of the world. That was such an amazing trip. The second time that, I went twice. And the second time we went, this is the second time. And it was just, we got to do a lot more because we weren't just concentrated on the hype, the big places in Moab. We were kind of going out and branching out to other spots out in Utah itself. And man, it was just absolutely gorgeous. Some of these, I mean, if you've never been to Moab, the camera doesn't do justice. I mean, it really doesn't. It's really a big deal out there.
And so were you on 40s at this time, or were you on 37s when you went out there?
So this is the second time going out. This is on 37s. The first time I was out, I was on 40s, and because I ran the diesel just like you have now. It's funny because we switched. I had the diesel first, and doing all this stuff, and you had the gas motor, and
Yeah.
then we switched. I unfortunately I got in an accident in December of 23, and
Yeah.
the Warhawk was totaled out. So after it was totaled out, I didn't have anything for a while, and then that's when you hit me up and you're like, hey, I'm trading mine in. I'm going to get a diesel,
Oh yeah.
and it was just,
The
oh
fuel
man.
mileage was what killing me, man. So I'm going to throw this up here. So that's kind of how we met.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of my Jeep story. So when I was in college, I had an 89 YJ, and this was my lesson on building a Jeep. I had an 88 Pathfinder when I was in high school. I drowned that thing at the peanut butter pit at Mount Etna. All the locals were watching while me, this dumb 18-year-old kid, drives his, I got a 2-inch lift and 32s, and I drowned that thing. There was mud coming in the interior, and in that side of it, the engine controller was under the passenger seat. That's what sold me on a Jeep. It's purpose built. And so ever since then, I've always had a snorkel. So on my 88, I had a snorkel, or my 89 YJ. And I tried to go to tons, and because the rear 35 just crumbled. But the most fun I had, as far as a Jeep goes, was that YJ on 33s. And it would go anywhere. It had open front and rear diffs, but the Roster Roundup 2001, that was a lot of fun. That was the last time that Jeep was out on the trails, because I was a dumb college kid. I was living on ramen noodles. I didn't have money for a drive shaft, so I got the front and rear axles in and didn't connect everything up, and yeah, it was kind of rough, living on that college budget. So fast forward, 20 years, I got my second Jeep, which was Ruby, my white manual. I had the little red Audi you see in there. Audi's 100,000 miles, just gremlins start acting up, and this thing was like on the verge of blowing up. So I was like, well, I hadn't had a car payment in years, and I was stupid. I got a Jeep payment. But I love Ruby, and we built her. And a lot of people look at my Jeep now and they're like, oh my gosh, how did you ever get like all that stuff on it? And it's been years of parts and working on the Jeeps, because everything that was on Ruby eventually went on to Rampage, which is now. And so like when I started overlanding, I was in a tent, and I don't have this on video, but over to the left of this was a little green tent, and one strong wind came by, blew that thing upside down. We were laying like at an angle like this on the ground, and it just wasn't comfortable. And we used a cooler. I will say that's one lesson I would share with you guys, is the refrigerator is so much of a game changer. I don't know what your experience was before you got a fridge, Steve, but that was kind of my thing.
The cooler thing was not cool, man, until I got a refrigerator. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
same thing. Like half your meat was always like just nasty, and like just man, I had some meat that got into the ice, and then the ice became like blood water. It was pretty bad. So I got a refrigerator pretty quick, man, because I was like, I'm not doing this. This is gross,
Yeah. So my thing was, I got so tired of I felt like I was just that guy that always ran out of gas, but I was always out of ice. So like this is supposed to be like a 5-day igloo. Then I had an Arctic cooler, and that was supposed to be like a 7-day. But no matter what it was rated for, every day I was having to stop, put ice at least once a day. So it's like, here's $3, here's $3, here's $3. And when I fast forward right before I got rid of Ruby is when I finally got a refrigerator. I was like, what the heck was I thinking all this time? It was crazy. Like, why didn't I just do this before? So I would say power station and refrigerator. And other than that, like that's a real game changer. But I mean, I worked out of one of those yellow and black boxes for a long time for gear, and until I got pack outs and the blue bucket up there. We all know what that's for, I guess.
The
cooler. I don't know. Have you found a good solution for other than the blue bucket that you'd be willing to talk about?
Yeah, so I went with the Australian one. It's the I haven't had to have it in a while because I haven't had a vehicle in a while. So um,
Yeah,
um what is it's a nice metal frame, and it's all four
yeah,
sides and packs up really nice. It packs up actually flat, so
right. That's
it's a really
nice.
nice deal. And it's high. I mean, it's not you're not sitting on the ground. I'll put it that way.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
God, I can't remember the name of it, man. I
I,
to save
I
my
think
life right now.
I think the other game changer was a privacy tent that went with that. Like that was a must, after a while of having the blue bucket to have one of those little cheap pop out tents where you just throw it up, and that way you got some privacy. If you've ever been camping, with those of the female persuasion, when you get to a pit toilet, if they're not used to something like that, they're like, no.
Yeah, yeah.
So the blue bucket has been a lifesaver, especially when it comes to relationships and going off road and taking somebody with you.
Yeah, it's I tell people all the time, I mean, do you need all the stuff that we have? No. If you want to
No,
go and just have a ground tent, just go out in the nature and just you can some of the places, especially here in Florida. I mean, as long as you have a I don't know an all wheel drive Subaru or all wheel drive something. In some places
yeah,
you don't even need all wheel drive, but it's just good to always
yeah,
have some kind of all wheel drive or full wheel drive vehicle, especially here in Florida. But a lot of the places are you have access to, and you can just get out there and just camp. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, I like just like you like. I mean, you find yourself liking the things that are, I guess, creature comforts to
right,
make it a little better because you know I mean, around town, when we're, doing the work thing, I just like you. I mean, you just might not get out as much as you want to. So you're only getting out, 2, maybe 3 days at a time, unless you're doing cross country. And then, you're sleeping out of the thing, for 8, 9, 10, 15 days.
yeah,
And then that's when the creature comforts really come in handy. And that's where, like the refrigerator and, having the rooftop tent, having those things that were just a little easier, I guess, just made the camping a little easier.
yeah,
Um, I've had people, I wouldn't say an argument, but kind of, oh, you have all that stuff, you might as well have an RV. Well, I mean, not really. I mean, still
yeah,
having the Jeep platform, we're still able to, get into spots and places even if you have a Toyota or any of those rigs are capable of getting
yeah,
into some of those tight spots and not just your normal uh, areas of camping, where you
yeah,
have the RVers and the van lifers, which are fine.
yeah.
I've always liked just people getting out. I mean, I've gotten along with a lot of people, but some people don't get along with overlanders, and they just think
Yeah.
that we're you know, I don't know what they think, but I
I think I throw off all the Toyota Overlanders because I always give them a Jeep wave because I kind of like Overlanders better than Jeep people
yeah, I
sometimes.
mean, I do
You
the
go to
same
some of
thing.
these
I mean,
bigger Jeep
especially when you're
events.
in the woods, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm very social with everybody. Same thing. I don't care what you drive, as long as you
yeah.
just like minded and like to get out in the woods and just have a good time,
Don't leave
man.
your beer cans behind.
Dude, it's and that's getting worse, man. That's a good discussion there in itself with the
Yeah,
trash. I just posted a video, yesterday of me cleaning up a campsite.
yeah,
So it's insane, man. It was a
yeah. I
half a
saw you
bag.
picking up the three little 1 pound propane bottle. It's like, why didn't you
Yeah,
just throw that away? Like,
there was
come
no
on, man.
kidding. There were 6 1 pound bottles, 6, and they're
Wow.
all gunshot. They're using them as target practice.
Okay, well that's good, but take that
I
stuff
didn't
with
pick it
you,
up.
or at least put set it back up for the next person on the range or something. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So this was another picture. We were talking about that gradual build. So the CVT tent here you see is the same tent I've got now, It's going on almost 3 years. And like I think we were talking about yesterday, like CVT was like the name, and they first came out with this Mount Washington side opening, and you know, uh, it cost a lot of money. I paid for it on a sidewalk sale, and then something happened. And I'm talking with some folks afterwards, like that tent was not the most reliable. You were telling me that people are having silicone stuff up, and for me, like I guess I got lucky with this tent, and I got lucky with the Jeep because I never had any issues, even though it was a manual. Like no issues at all with it. Unlike my diesel, and we'll get into that slide a little bit later. But I mean, this was our setup. We're still in the cooler, a box, had a little pop open, dry area, and the tent did have this awning. So like, I think I've deployed that thing twice. So when I see these people that come and they set up their big rooms, unless they're like making space for kids to camp and stuff, like you really don't need this. And so what I've used a lot is like the little pop-up Gazelle, and that thing is literally like 90 seconds. So if you're not going to get a rooftop tent or it's not in your budget, like I really think the Gazelle is probably the way to go, or one of these, fast deployable tents that packs up, and then you just throw it in the back of the truck, and you go look there, there's a dog in the little privacy tent back there. And then chairs, as you can see, I've been through lots of chairs.
I got a lot of chairs, but I went out and bought a Gazelle after I lost, everything from the accident. And I mean, it's been great, man. I mean, it sets up fairly, fast. And I mean, honestly, if it wasn't because I have a blow up mattress and everything else, it would take a lot less time to set up. But
what they don't tell you about the rooftop tent is mattresses like this thick, like 1 inch. Some of them are new. They have 3 inches of comfort, but everybody I've talked to, they haven't found a rooftop tent that's got a great mattress. And like the Gazelle, I mean, you can take a cot. So you can take a cot in there and a sleeping bag. You can fit like probably 3-4 people in there comfortably. You can carry a little diesel heater to heat it up in the wintertime. I will say the only thing I've run into is like high winds will make it implode. And you just got to remember to stay down with those poles.
Take those out. Yep. I had the same thing when so Jeep Beach, we all camped in the infield. You joined us on the last one.
Yeah.
And I had that problem. So I had to stake out the sides, and then I didn't have any problem anymore. So it was.
So let's talk chairs. I mean, we're a little bit all over the place. I haven't seen anybody say, "Hey, we want you to talk about this." But chairs, like I really like those rockers, but they lasted 6 months in the back of the Jeep full time. The Dometics, I'm a little bit more careful with those, but I love them. They're comfortable, and I've tried the Iceco chair. It's super comfortable too. But do you have a personal preference when it comes to chairs?
So I have a lot of chairs. The Dometics are nice. They're nice and comfortable, but the problem is they don't pack down very well. Same thing with the rockers. The rockers are awesome, but they don't pack down very well. So I got one of those packable chairs. They're made by what is it? I'm trying to think of the name of that,
as long as it's not one of those Nero chairs, man, those things are like ridiculous expensive.
No. I mean, well, I did spend some money. I got 2 chairs and it cost me, I was at one of the expos and I bought it there and it was on sale, but I still paid like $200 for 2.
Oh yeah. And it's like, this is just for me to sit in.
Yeah, so they were definitely more expensive than, honestly, they're the most expensive chairs I have. But they pack down to like this. Like it's nothing. And anybody that knows me, I'm not a small dude. So
no, me either.
So sitting in those and they actually hold me. I mean, it's been great. And I've actually I've got a few people to buy them. So those are my everyday. So that's my everyday carry. So those are always in my Jeep. They're in my new Jeep. You know what I mean? They just sit in the back and I can put them under the seat, whatever. And those stay with me consistently. And then if I'm, know I'm going to go somewhere that, I don't need a lot of room, I'll usually take the rocker. Because like you said, if it stays in the back, those things go out, man, real quick.
Yeah.
And especially if you don't have, now you have
the topper. That's a game changer too.
Yeah. So where before
it's not
you
a
didn't have
must,
that.
but
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the shovel though.
Huh?
I was going to jump in here and throw out my shovel thoughts because I see all these creators are like, oh, I got this great e-tool off of Amazon or eBay and it's the greatest shovel ever. I'm like, dude, just take a regular shovel. Like I've got some ATV mounts that I tie this thing in. If you got a roof rack, a rhino rack, whatever, get your real shovel. You're going to like thank your back for that if you can carry it, or even one of the D-handled shovels. Because there's nothing worse than, trying to use an e-tool to dig out somebody that's buried up to the frame at the beach. And so that's my little shout out on shovels. Get a real shovel.
You know where my shovel came from?
Where's that?
Home Depot.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine was from Ace.
And it's not one of the full size. I mean, it's a smaller. I paid all of $30, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen some of these shovels. They're like over $100 for a shovel.
Oh yeah. Because it's fancy and it looks cool and it's collapsible, but
and it has like a knife on the side or something. It's like, why am I going to cut down a tree with a shovel?
E-tools are good for cat holes if you don't have a blue bucket. Just saying. But other than that, if you got to dig out a rig, like having that shovel, and guess what? If you're stuck, I usually go, here you go. Let me help you out. Here's the shovel for you.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Some of the stuff that's on the market and some of the stuff that people push. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how else to do it. You know what I mean? I just think that there's easier ways and they're less expensive. I think that anything that says Overland on it is an automatic $100. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a premium. And that's why, like, take what you got, whether it's a 4Runner, you don't need all the fancy, shiny gear. The tent, I mean, that was a big investment up front, but I didn't really buy a whole lot for the Jeep after that. The white Gladiator, I think I drove it for like a year and a half before I chose lift kit. And on those lines about like the Clayton lift, and I think I'll go to the next slide because I got some pictures of Ruby. So we did the 37 steel wheels, Clayton lift, the bed rack. So let's just talk about budget wise. The bed rack was off of Facebook Marketplace. I think I paid like $300 for the Thule rack, and then I paid like $300 for this Overland style rack. The awning was off Facebook Marketplace. The tires, my first set, they were like off Marketplace. They were halfway worn down before I got my partnership with Toyo. But even then, I still got to buy tires, and nobody likes buying tires. Oh, yeah. I think I only paid full price for the bull bar. The Harbor Freight winch was on sale. But, like, I think your money should go into your suspension. So, like, I watched the story till now. He had an awesome Gladiator, his first one, and they put Terraflex in there. And then the guys at Epic, they had to rip all that stuff out. Then I watched, like some other guys, like I think Matt with Ozark, he had a rock crawler lift. He had to rip all that stuff out because all those greasable joints, you got to grease them, and that's more maintenance. Whereas like the Overland Plus kit or the Metal Cloak kit with the durometer bushings, it's good stuff, and you don't have to do a lot of maintenance. You're not going to get all the flex, but like the ditch there on the right, that thing was like 3 feet deep, and the Jeep flexed right through it. So I don't know. And you've had some pretty good luck with the lift kit you got on your Jeep, right? What did you have on the Warhawk?
So I went with Rusty's Off-Road. Okay. A good friend of mine that was he ran an off-road shop.
Let's just clarify. You said Rusty's Off-Road, not Rough Country, just for the audiences out there.
I didn't do
Rough Country, please.
I didn't do Rough Country, but I had some really good luck. Same thing. So he has two different bushings. One was a Johnny joint style. So you got maximum flex out of it. The problem is when you have a heavy rig, those joints take a beating. and I want to say in 1 year, and that's me actively greasing them and keeping them up. I was wearing through them. I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit before about weight. I mean, when I was fully loaded, and you're actually heavier than I was, but I mean, I was at 7,200 pounds.
Oh yeah.
And doing not extreme buggy courses or anything, but I was out, doing Moab, doing rock crawling. I was doing a lot of the bigger trails out there. I wasn't doing like I said, the extreme courses, but I was doing some pretty good ones out there.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And then just normal,
the suspension's where it's at, because even Clayton, they'll tell you, like, when I called them, they're like, well, we make the control arms in house, the springs, we get those good springs from another customer or another supplier, but they don't care what type of shocks you put on there. So, like, I've been running these Ranchos, and I got a guy who's like, Ranchos, blah ha ha. Dude, I've got like 80,000 miles in the Ranchos and the Clayton lift, and they ride good enough. And, like, yeah, if Elka comes along or another company wants to give me some shocks to try out, yeah, it's probably about time to try out some new shocks. But, I like the Ranchos just because you can click them. And then I've been looking at the metal cloaks too. But go ahead, Steve.
I was going to do the Elka 2.5s. We chatted, we talked. They were really going to hook me up with a good deal. And it wasn't just because of the deal. I heard some really good stuff about it. And then from there, I actually went with the Fox 2.5s instead of the Elkas. So I will say, hands down, running is the third, I guess, shock that I went with.
Right.
Probably.
Did you have Falcons before?
No. I never went with the Falcons. I've just heard different stories. I had so Rusty's has their own shock. It's basically it's almost
monotube, like just like all the others,
like a Bilstein, similar to those. And I ran that one, and then I ran a monotube, and then I ran a dual setup, like a dual tube setup. And when I switched to the 2.5s, the Fox 2.5s, game changer. Like game changer. It was a huge difference with on-road and off-road ability. I can put those things as super soft, and I mean I can run 40, 50, 60 miles an hour down a dirt road with no issues. Like it's just eating it up. Same thing with on the road. I mean, sometimes when we have our rigs all built out and weighed down, that's the biggest thing that everybody complains about the Jeep, is because you start putting these wheels on, and then the wheels are sticking out further, and you're putting bigger tires and all this stuff, and it kind of sways down the road. So putting those shocks on, they took up a lot of that when I like stiffen them up. I mean, it was pretty impressive. Even with my top heavy, rooftop tent, everything else, you could feel the big difference going around a corner. Now it wasn't a NASCAR going around the corner, but it was pretty impressive. So, and if you've never been there, if you never spent the money, then you don't know what you're missing, until you spend it. I mean, that was a good $3,000. I didn't get sponsored for any of that stuff. I bought that out of my own pocket. Like it was a big chunk to buy, but I did because Jason was the first one to buy it in the crew. And he's like, man, this is a game changer. So he convinced me to buy them, and I bought them, and it was definitely a big difference on the Jeep itself.
I will plug the Ranchos one more time. They're a throwaway shock. They're cheap compared to the big money shocks, because I think it was like $600 for all four corners, and they're got the 9 points of adjustment. and like 6 will like loosen your fillings because they're like so stiff. Um, so like I keep them like 3 or 4s because I like a little bit softer ride. To really, even on the diesel, it's heavier and maxed out on weight. Like you put that thing up at 6, and those things are like super stiff. Now they're not made for desert running because they're not like a bypass. And even the guys at Rancher are like, yeah, I really wish we had a bypass shock, but they've got a 2.5-inch body, so they're pretty good for like a monotube shock with some adjustability to dial it in. I am interested in like the metal cloak shocks. Those things look pretty nice.
The black
They're
edition,
only one click.
the new
Yeah,
ones.
they're like the Ranchos, but because they only have like one level of adjustment. Whereas like Dobinson, you can do rebound and stroke and all that stuff, and they're almost too technical, especially like these guys who have like the King shocks and the big money shocks. Like those you really have to dial in, but then you got a lot of money if you want to replace or rebuild them. So again, we were talking overlanding. We want to be able to go the distance, so just having a good shock, that's going to keep your ride on the road with some adjustment. I think either way you're good.
Yeah, I believe. I mean, it's definitely a deal. I mean, especially if you want something to last. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That
So
one
this
was
is Ruby. Right before I traded her in, she was getting like the ultimate adventure vehicle. I think I did the lights after this, but I felt like I could go anywhere on 37s with the 410s, and it was a fun build. And like I said, with Rampage, everybody's like, "Oh man, you got an awesome Jeep on 40s." I was like, "Well, I've recycled a lot of the parts, so like those same control arms are on Rampage." Going from a gas to a diesel, I just had to switch the front coils, and I had to get new extended brake lines because I wasn't going to take those off before I turned in the other one.
yeah.
And it was one of those cases of Mopar cut the price so much. I paid as much for the green Jeep as I did the white one, and I've got the 420 foot-pounds of torque that comes with the Eco Diesel. So, but I've also had some of the problems that come with the Eco Diesel, which I think was the next one. So. Yeah, this was kind of all the stuff we did. We built this thing from scratch, and kind of back to the Save Expo. My goal was to get it done for the Save Expo, and we did. And then Overland South is another good event we went to. Again, I've saved some money along the way doing all the work myself, but yeah, I just enjoy turning wrenches. And then this is the intercooler that blew. And if you look here at the weld on the intercooler on the right, it was just spewing oil, and we were planning, we went cross country in Ruby all the way out to Yellowstone, and so I was looking forward to doing that trip, but I ended up in this Grand Cherokee and was like, dude, this sucks. It was a comfortable ride, got great gas mileage, but I was like, I want my Jeep so I can go explore like I did the year before. And yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking, comfortable ride. I think it was 2-wheel drive, so I also had to watch where I went. But
man,
like you driving cross country, the Gladiator is so long compared to my YJ that was like this, driving all the time. The Gladiator, even though it's long and it's a solid axle, it drives more like a real truck than it does a Jeep. So that's one thing I really like about it. And then events. So let's talk events, man. So I know we're going to do Save. You're going to go down there. I got to figure out where I'm going to be, but events in general, especially like Save Expo, I like call it like the biggest, smallest overland event because it's literally Stark, Florida, the racetrack. You've got all the vendors packed in. You got a lot of big names that come out there. Like you got a lot of the tent manufacturers. You got a bunch of trailer manufacturers. But like Matt Brody, I met him last year, and you and I met 3 years ago at Save. Like to me, that's probably one of the best kept secrets around in overlanding.
Yeah, so I have to 100% agree with you. So, being that I've went to, just like you. I mean, you've been to a lot of the events as well, but the bigger expos, I feel like they're almost overwhelming. I mean, it takes you, 2 to 3 days to just walk it. and then to remember, you know, where everything's at. And yeah, you get to link up with people. You know, I got to, you know, link up with some of my idols that I watch on YouTube all the time, like, you know, Marco and you know, just a lot of these other YouTube guys that I watch on a day to day that live out there. And I got to hang with them and you know, just have a really good time. So that was cool. But overall, the expo experience was just so much. You know what I mean? It was just a lot versus the Save Expo. It's more, you know, it's getting bigger and bigger every year, so it's been growing. But it's just a little bit more tight niched. I feel like you're able to, you know, actually talk to people one to one. You're able to,
if you don't like your neighbor, you can move.
Yeah, I mean, you can catch up with people.
You're not blocked into this is your little 10 by 10 square.
You know, they're not as strict for the camping. You know, they have camping areas, but, you know, if you want to, like you just said, I mean, if you want to, you know, move to somebody else's and hang out with them and camp with them, you're allowed to. Where everybody else, you know, all these other bigger ones, like, you don't dare move. You know, you move your Jeep, it's like you're not getting back. You know what I mean? So this one, another one that I really enjoyed was the More Expo. The More Expo for me was really good because I got to meet up with, you know, a lot of different people that, again, I've watched for years on YouTube, and then even products, you know. I think that some of the bigger shows, there's just so many people, you know, that you don't have that one-to-one with the distributors and with their sales guys, where you do with these smaller shows. You're able to utilize that time to really talk about their product and talk about, you know, what's coming up. And I for me, you know, like I said, I've been to every expo, like every large expo, except the biggest one,
California one
out in Flagstaff.
You know, they just invented a fifth one now, right?
Yeah,
for
that's
the California crowd.
Yeah, so that's the only one I haven't been to. The rest of them, I went to the PNW, West, East, More, the Save Expo, Overland the Reds. I mean,
I remember the Ginger had had the Warhawk on their channel up there. He's like, "Oh, this is how you build a Gladiator. Look at this thing." And so you got to meet the Ginger out there from Epic up at
dude,
Pacific Northwest.
He's been freaking awesome, man. Like, we chat. I mean, you know, for a while we were chatting once a week, you know, just back and forth. And then, you know, just, you know, he's busy, I'm busy. Especially his shop has gotten incredibly busy right now. But yeah, man, just it was really a cool deal to meet some of those guys. You know, Marco, you know, I've chatted with him a few times on you know, on Messenger and things like that. You know, putting that person to, you know, face to face, and dude, he's really, a lot of these people are really genuine people, man. Now I have met other people that are not have
arrived.
You know what I mean? Which is cool, man. Like, you know, there's a lot of different people, and there's a lot of people that, you know, are not wanting to hang out with people, you know, that they do their YouTube channel because that's how they get out into the world and stuff. And that's cool, man. It is what it is. So it kind of busted my bubble because I was like, oh man, you know, like, I'm all excited, you know, and you're like, whoa, not so excited.
I'd say last year was a big change for me as far as meeting people. Like, Jeep Beach to me was always like, same with Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. Like, they were all about neon lights and loud music. Like, you didn't get that at the Save Expo. I did get to meet some cool people like Mr. Curry over there on the right at Jeep Beach. And, you know, you get to see a lot of the off-road manufacturers that you don't necessarily see at the Overland events, but now they're starting to take notice. So, like, Toyo, that's a partnership that I loved, and it was awesome that they gave me half the booth just to display the Overland thing, and then they've got 2 tires that they're coming out with. They've got the RT Trail, but they're getting ready to launch the RT Pro, and those are definitely aimed at the guys that want a mud tire that is as quiet as an all terrain. And so I'm curious to see what that's going to look like. And then but Save Expo, and then there's local events too. So like there's a couple around here. Expedition Georgia, they usually do an event here the fall or spring. Small, bring what you have. Like that little motorcycle I got to take a ride on at the Fall Adventure Vehicle Roundup. That was cool. And then Overland South is kind of like a party. They don't have vendors or anything yet, but they got 30 miles of trail, and it helps keep the trails open and mowed down for when they got to come work on the power lines or what have you. So I think that goes back to our adventure local thing. I think it's a great time. I don't know if I got any more slides. I've been through a bunch of slides, and a Rampage, the background story is we didn't get to this, all overnight. It was grow as you go, and the build will come with over time, But
well, I've got my buddy from the Adventure Crusaders.
Yeah.
Dude, he's been to some really cool events out in Georgia, and there was one recent. I don't think he made that one, but there was one recent in the Panhandle. I don't remember the name of that one, but it's like Coordinates and Coffee or something like that.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
Nice. Retirement letter today.
Well, he's trying to. He's retiring this year, and we're trying to go to the War Expo together. And he got denied. That's what. You look in the comments. He said he got denied, and I said, "Well, it's time to quit." But
But one thing I think about more expos, it's the same week as Jeep Beach. I wish they were just offset by a week or something, and I would probably try to venture out that way. But again, that's the double side of you start working with companies and you got to pull through. And if I get an opportunity to go to Jeep Beach again, I'll go to Jeep Beach. But for the most part, I love the overlanding stuff more than the big companies. But you go to these events and you can get some serious deals like RCV axles. Yeah, they were on sale, and I probably couldn't afford them if they hadn't been.
Yeah. Well, Daryl, he has a YouTube channel as well, and they do a lot of stuff here locally, and they're the Montero guys.
Oh, okay.
They got the old Monteros, which are very impressive. I'll be honest, for what it is, man. I mean, especially being an older vehicle, but the electronics and stuff that they had back then. I was pretty amazed, like the all-wheel drive control module that's in it. Like it really works. Like it's pretty cool. I was pretty amazed. I'll put it that way.
I always tell people when they bring up other brands, I started off in an 88 Pathfinder with a manual. So like, I don't like hate on other builds, only thing is maybe a Bronco owners that's a unique crowd, but I had one guy pull up beside me, he just bought his Everglades edition or whatever with his snorkel. And he's like, you know what this is, right? This is my Jeep recovery vehicle. I was like, right on, bud. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's an ongoing joke. It's every man. Like, the Toyota guys, they hate on the Jeeps all the time. The Jeep guys hate on the Toyota guys. And it's just it's fun, man. It's all in fun. I think that, again, we go back to whatever you drive, it is what it is, man. Like I get along with everybody, and you're not going to like what I drive. I'm not going to like what you drive maybe sometimes, but it is what it is. I don't really care. Like, I just like to have fun, man. I like to go out in the woods and camp and just have a good old time.
Get away. That's the biggest thing. And so like, I think my last video I was talking about weekend warriors, like 90% of us these days are weekend warriors. We can't pull the Dan Grech. Like Dan Grech's crimped and saved, and years later he's traveled all over the world thanks to some good sponsors, but he didn't just start overlanding overnight. A lot of people got to have a day job because parts are expensive, tents are expensive. you don't have to have the best, but after you sleep on the ground a few nights, you're like, I want something different, please, honey. Can we go buy something new?
And that's I'm still in the build phase with mine. I mean, I've got the lift, I've got the tires, I've got all that stuff, but I don't have any of my camp stuff yet. You know what I mean? Like I have camp stuff, I have a ground tent, I have all that, but I want to get.
I got a Bass Pro grill, man.
Yeah,
I got that nice Dometic that I won from a cook-off, so I'll gladly regift you my Bass Pro. It's still a good stove.
No, I like my Timbo Tusk, man. That is definitely by far right now. That's my favorite cook tool.
Yeah.
I have every cook tool you can think of. I mean, I really do. I got everything that came out. Oh, you got to have this, you got to have that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to have that. I have the Blackstone flat griddle. I've got the burners with, my wife got me these really nice like Stanley pots and pans that are, have super thick bottoms, and they're great. They cook awesome. But I got the Timbo Tusk, and I've kind of put everything else to the side and just cook on that for now. I mean, it's been great. I mean, the other day was the first time that a video. What was it? The last video I think we did. I was with Jake, and we were out there exploring, and we just had dinner, in the woods, and we cooked rice, on this thing, and it's not a big thing. It's boiling some water and some rice, but we're on a Timbo Tusk. You know what I mean? Like, so it was. We usually get the instant rice, the 90-second, the ones you put in the microwave. That's what we usually bring. We just throw that on there, put a little bit of water, and boom, throw some butter on it, and it's done. Nice. But we cooked the whole meal right on it, and it was good, man. Like, but yeah, I want my, I want that topper life back. It was that was a game changer, which you soon found out.
It took me like 2 years, but like I like the topper just because it keeps stuff dry. Like, but my refrigerator did fine out in the elements, and so like you do see people that rotate through refrigerators. I'm like, I'm still in the same fridge, and it's got a 5-year warranty, and I'm if ISCO was like, hey, we want you to upgrade, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But like for the most part, it was like between the APL 55 and the VL 75, and I went with the 75, and I'm glad I did now because it opens from the side, and I can reach in through the side panel and get to stuff. I think the straw, when you say it overbuilt, like I love my rear bumper, but that thing is so heavy, and like I was telling you, like if I go out to Moab, I would probably need like a 60 at least in the rear, because those 44s with the 40s, I mean, they'll do it, but they'll do it for like a pickup and not a full-blown overland rig. They're like crying for help sometimes.
Exactly. So, we talked about this a little earlier about, our channels and the difference that, with my channel, I have a crew, I wanted more of like a crew style, and there's 5 of us right now, and we all kind of, do stuff off each other. I mean, not all the time we're able to all go on journeys at the same time, but there's at least 2, 3, 4 of us that go out all the time. And it helps with content and helps with bouncing things off of each other. It's almost like a club, man. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a lot of the channels, because I mean, I haven't personally seen like a group channel. I haven't, because I mean, when I started the whole YouTube thing, I just wanted to inspire other people and just have people that have the same interest around me, so
absolutely.
I found these guys, and we kind of found each other. That's how it's been, and it's been great. I get to hang out with like-minded buddies all to go out and have a good time.
And so that's one thing I do enjoy about
that we all have Jeeps, and most of us have Gladiators.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool too, because I like hanging out with all you guys. I met y'all over the time, Jeep Beach and Save Expo and other things. And I was like, Adventure OffroadX is Steve, and so Steve is Adventure OffroadX. And then I start seeing other people, and I'm like, that's not Steve on his channel. Who's this guy? And then I meet like Joel and the other guys, and it's like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And y'all have some pretty cool builds, but the other thing is you're building yours right because you're still going out and adventuring while you're doing the build. You're not like, keep it in the garage until it's done. So
Yeah.
that to me is huge. So
I got that
like you got
Gladiator
to
the
go
first
enjoy
day,
it.
and I was already out.
Yeah, that goes back to my YJ. I did all that work on it, and I didn't get to enjoy it as much as like the White Gladiator.
Oh, I guess we lost him, guys. Hold on. Yep, he's gone. Yeah, it's been a big game changer for us for sure. To have everybody in the group that goes out. So let's see if he's going to get back on here. Guys, anybody been to the More Expo or the Save Expo that's in here?
I must have hit the wrong button. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, you were
Okay,
gone.
let me try my other camera. Oh, I don't know if my Osmo like overheated or what, but yeah. Audio.
Yeah, I was just asking. I was asking everybody that's in the chat or that's watching if anybody's ever been to any of the expos, the More Expo, or any of the big expos, or even the Save Expo. I know that Daryl has.
Yeah.
With the Adventure Crusader, he's definitely been there.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing is like I wanted to do Q&A. Like I want to know what you guys are into because that inspires me to do like other videos. And if there's certain things you want me to look at when I'm at a show, or I get a lot of positive feedback when I go around and I interview different companies. But like if you're just building a Gladiator, like what tips do you want to know? I always tell people get a winch first and then get your lift kit. And after that, it's on an as needed basis. You don't have to go. And oh, by the way, go camp a few times before you go spend like $2 or $3 grand on a rooftop tent. And those top oaks, we were talking about that last night. These things are coming way down in price.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're very comparable to all the other brands. I mean, yeah, you're gonna see some of the stuff. Jake and I were talking about this the other day. So the only tent that I've seen a huge difference on as far as the quality of the tent, believe it or not, is the what are those? The man, why am I so bad tonight with names? God,
I've got a lot of buddies in the tent industry. Let's not make them mad.
Well,
I don't want Brian to come punch me in the face, or Daniel, or any of those guys.
Well, listen,
yeah, we know the secret. We just won't talk about it.
The thickness of the tent was like 900 versus what most of these tents are 320.
Oh yeah,
700.
Are you talking the canvas thickness? Yeah,
the canvas thickness. Well, that one, theirs were 900. I mean, that's a pretty big difference. But
you can definitely get them that way. And a lot of the companies make good stuff, but price wise, you're gonna pay a kidney or two for some of the stuff. Like some of the big brands that are out there, they're all about to get tariffed coming in. But yeah, but the problem is if you buy an American tent, you're paying a ridiculous amount too. I think Free Spirit, is that the one that's only one that's made in the U.S. I want to say that, and maybe Go Fast Camper.
Yep, those are the two that are 100% made. They make all their stuff here in America. But they're pricey. You're going to spend for it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, those top oaks, man. I mean, I think their entry one is $1,200.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Because that is crazy. Because mine
I've
was
seen some
almost
of
half a
the
kidney.
ones on Amazon that are $1,200, but the quality isn't
Oh,
what
yeah.
top is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've seen those because I was again I was looking for cheap tents before I got my CVT that I got on the last build. But I'll tell you, even that the CVT, I mean, it was holding up, but it wasn't. There was a couple things that I didn't like, and that was just because it didn't come out yet. So I had the older style tent. It was one of the first style, like wedge style tents. So it wasn't blackout. Right. So every time that sun came up, boy, I was up because it was daylight inside. So now like the newer stuff are all blackouts.
Yeah.
You know?
But that blackout is good, but like mine, you can cook in there too if it's hot with the sun.
Oh yeah.
So I think, that's another trade-off in there.
Well, Derek, who got my buddy Derek just got he has a Toyota, and he just got a rooftop tent. And who makes that one? Starts with an I. It's Intrepid.
iCamper. Oh, no. Intrepid.
Is it Intrepid?
I don't know. There's an iCamper. There's Intrepid. I think
it was Intrepid. It starts with an I. I'm pretty sure it's IN. Anyways, that one was pretty legit too. And then Daryl from the Adventure Crusader, he just got a rooftop tent. He just got one from Ben. And what brand did you get? If you're still on here, Daryl, I don't know. I don't remember what you told me, but that one looked pretty solid too. He had a wedge style as well. So it's his first rooftop tent. He's always been a inside Inspire. That's what
Inspire.
It is.
That's it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's another good one. So there's a lot of good tents. It's just kind of, you got to pick your preference, I guess, is what I always tell people.
My OVS awning, it's going on 2.5 years. The bag's kind of ripped. I've learned like chapstick is the secret. I've got to chapstick my zipper. But yeah, it's amazing too, because like my tent's like over 200 pounds, and that's a lot of weight up there. But it side opens so I can carry kayaks. Yeah, and so that's kind of the reason I've kept that one. With the wedge, you go nose down with the boat and the roof of the Jeep, which wouldn't be cool. But
the Inspire that he just got is 78 pounds.
Wow, that is super light. I think that's the one I've seen the video. The guy like picks it up and carries it out, puts it on the vehicle.
It's that commercial where the one is like being picked up by a forklift, putting it on the vehicle, and this guy's just like picking it up over his head, and he's just like, man.
When I did the switch over to Rampage, I had my neighbor come over and help me, and he's like, he's a pretty strong guy, but dude, that tent, having a forklift is a must with that tent, because I'm glad Lewis had a lift in his bay so that we could put it on top of the camper shell, because that thing's not coming off until it's like going on another truck, because it's ridiculously heavy.
Yeah, so my setup that I had on the other one was 225 pounds, but that was what that's with the awning and the shower room,
right?
Because it had all connected to the rooftop tent.
Oh yeah,
because it had the slides on the side, so I had the whole thing connected to that. So the whole thing was 225 pounds, and you're not just it's picking that thing up and taking it off and putting it on. I mean, that's it's staying on.
Yeah.
But
I do appreciate everybody sticking around, man. So we got 6 people out there watching. That's pretty sweet. I mean, small channel. Yeah. It's definitely been a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get some questions about, what people want us to talk about, if not, I'm inclined to call it a night. I mean, it's been pretty sweet. People can go hopefully catch up on Ozarks because we stepped on their time slot. But yeah, Matt won't care, right?
Yeah, he gets some views.
yeah. I don't think we're going to touch his 20 million views or 20 20,000
No.
views after 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think so either, man.
but yeah, I'm totally looking forward to Save. And then Overland South, I want to say it's the end of, it's mid-March. If you're available, come up to the Charleston, South Carolina area. That's just like weekend fun camping. And Jeff, the guy who owns it or runs it, he's got like an old Unimog, and he's got like a 4-door Jeep, like cab over pickup. And he's just a good dude. He's like some guy that got bought out by a software company, and he's like, all these people don't get to go to the big overland events. Let me do something local here. And like the place that hosts it is all private property, so they do threaten you at like 2 o'clock on Sunday. You got to go, but other than that, they're like, go ride the trails. Don't roll your vehicle, and worst case, if you bury yourself, like he had a 3500 he pulled out, I think, with the Unimog last year, and there was a guy with an FMTV house truck up there, and he was out going through the woods, mud pits, and everything else. And there's guys that brought their 1500s out there that were buried up to the frame. It wasn't like crazy destroy your vehicle, but if you weren't careful where you went, you could get in a little bit deep mud. And it's like Florida, soft, sandy soil, and the cool thing is there's a big lake, and you can camp all around the lake. And so it's a good time. They actually did what is it? Combative. What was it? It was like combat archery. That's what it is. They have like these Nerf ends on bow and arrows, and people are like shooting them at each other. Not sure who signed off on that as safety, but they wear like masks and stuff. So it was a good time. And then they had like some guy who's been like a world famous barbecue place come out there. So some of these smaller events are pretty cool too. And you get that same community spirit feeling that you get with Save. I get that when I go to like Expo East. But when you roll into not Expo East, but like the Adventure Vehicle Roundups, but when you roll into like Expo East, which is the smallest one, it's like turn left here at this parking guy, come forward and park here. Like you said, it can be a bit overwhelming. It's more like going to a Super Bowl or a baseball game. You're like ushered into place.
Yeah.
That's the only downside of like the expos, but I think it's cool just seeing all the gear and seeing the vendors and, again, that one-on-one interaction with them to really ask them, be like, well, what type of lift should I put on this vehicle, and get it from the manufacturer. And so I'd say that's the positive side. And I think Save is probably getting pretty big. When they have to start parking people, it might be too big.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. I said, yeah, it's getting bigger.
Yeah. Which is good.
Vendors, a lot more vendors, a lot more campers. I mean, it's. Last year was pretty nice. But yeah, it's still enjoyable. Still.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think we're rolling up to about an hour. Unless somebody throws something in the comments, man. I'm getting ready to throw your video up here. Let's see which one. Here's the we did the short Save video already, but we can throw it back up again. There's Lewis with Inca 4x4. He's got the cool Defender. Let's see who else we got on here. James Baru, they showed up big time. Dobinsons. I mean, you got some big names that come out to Save. So, mainline overlanding. There's also a lot of nonprofits that go there. Super Overland. Caesar donates a lot of stuff for raffles, like a crazy amount of stuff, like Dometic and everything else. So their raffle is pretty huge too. Nice. That's Jake's Jeep going through the obstacle course.
Yeah, it's Jake going through the obstacle course.
Yeah, he's got a really cool build, and he's done a lot with Rebel Off-Road.
Oh,
and yeah. I wonder if Rebel will ever come out to that, because I think it'd be cool to see their tray bed. I don't have $20,000 to put a tray bed on my Jeep, but they are cool.
Yeah, so Jake will be making a big transformation coming up.
Nice.
So that's coming soon with Jake's rig. because he's kind of partnered up with Rebel.
Yeah.
So the plan was, we wanted to have it ready to roll and have it on display, but getting those canopies done and stuff takes a while. So
you just let the cat out of the bag. Come on, dude. Hook a brother up. No. That's okay.
Well, he came out on their social media and said can't wait for mine or whatever. So it's not that it's hidden secret. It's not a hidden secret anymore. It was a secret for a little bit. He got to fly out. He actually flew out over to California, where their base is at, and got to hang out with Bond and the Rebel guys, and got to
they were super cool. We met them at Jeep Beach last year. That was my first time meeting them.
Yeah, those guys are really down to earth people, easy to get along with. All of them wheel, so that's another cool thing is they're actually out there wheeling with people, which is really cool for some companies, because some companies, man, they don't even wheel, dude. Like they sell a product that is for overlanding or whatever, and they don't even get out there to even expose it or wheel it. So having companies that actually do get out there and wheel and get after it is really cool. But those guys are really cool. So hopefully soon, they're going to be down a little bit more and showcasing some more of their products, because that's not the only thing that they've come out with. They've come out with some goodies. So
I'm sure Jake will have all kinds of stuff for Jeep Beach, and I know Rebel's down there. I will say that's one cool thing about, like, when you go to the Overland events, like a lot of these companies, they're just like mom and pop shops. Mm-hmm. And so you're a small business owner on the outside of YouTube. So like, it's pretty cool. You get that family feeling when you buy something. Like, they're putting their reputation on the line. If they give a bad set of tents, then, it's not like they're Walmart where they're going to get another shipment of 500. They just lost out a bunch of money too. And so they only want to give you the best stuff. And
that's true.
You'd be surprised. Like, even Timbo Tusk is like a small family business. They create a scuttle, and Tony or whatever, they came up with that, a small adventure scuttle, and then got a big scuttle, and they do refrigerator slides and all kinds of stuff. And it's definitely pretty neat. Yeah, I'm back on the computer camera. I guess lesson learned is the DJI gets too hot or something, cuts out. So but cool, it's definitely been fun, Steve. I
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do something like this again in the future. I don't know if we'll see how many people we can pack in here now that I know about this StreamYard app. Steve was giving me a class on that, so we learned. But appreciate everybody watching the video tonight and sticking around, hanging out with us, and can't wait to see you again and give you a big bear hug. And by the way, one of my Start Building Dreams t-shirts. So that whole name came over from just out there living the dream. And so my spin on was Start Building Your Dreams. It's such a common phrase, but I got the YouTube handle with it. So. But thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys Save Expo or what is the other one? Overland South. So that's the next two big shows for me, and we'll keep doing videos. So thanks for tuning in. Steve, high five through the video. Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Bye.